Salutations, my Fallout lovers. It is Maddie here today bringing you a Fallout discussion video. Now, without any hesitation, let's dive straight into this topic. I'm going to start this video off by saying that I am very scared to talk about this. I've been running away from this topic for almost 2 years now, and that's because of the internet backlash that I will inevitably receive. But I decided to man up today and discuss it anyways, and note how I'm talking about manning up because I'm giving my opinion on video games. That is what the internet has diminished to. But I kindly ask, or in fact I beg the living hell out of you to respect my opinion in this video about my thoughts on the older Fallout games. Please, for the love of God, do so, because if someone can tell me straight to my face that Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is not a good RPG and an awful video game in general, then I think you can handle my thoughts on the older Fallout games. And if you didn't know, Knights of the Old Republic is my favorite video game to ever exist in the history of gaming. So, that's what I meant by that. Anyways, let's dive straight into my thoughts on this. So, the most asked question on my streams, comments, Maddie, what are your thoughts on the older Fallout games? And it's not that I think they're bad games. They're not at all bad games. They're in fact fucking amazing video games. I think they're awesome to watch, but I can't, for the life of me, play them. Now, some may argue, well, you suck at video games, I guess. No, it's not like that. It's just, it doesn't interest me. Obviously, you all know that the Fallout universe clearly interests the living hell out of me. But I love what the lore, the story, and the characters that Fallout 1 and 2 both established, but I just can't get into it. Have you ever had a game, I can't specify, other than for me it's Fallout 1 and 2, maybe you have a different game, where you hear the idea, you see it on paper, you look at the previews, for example, for a new game coming out, and when it comes out, you pick it up, you're playing it and you're like, I just can't get into this. There's just not, it's not what I want. It's not what I like in this type of video game. So for me, in my Fallout video games, I like to be able to, I don't want to say control, I like to decide I want to go off in this direction and just explore. Where in Fallout 1 and 2, they're not really open world games, so to say, where I can't really enjoy myself as much as I did in Fallout 3. Now, with that said, I already know I'm so hesitant to speak about this, but with that said, I feel like your first Fallout is the Fallout that really sets it for you. My first Fallout was obviously, as you can tell, like many others, Fallout 3. That's what got me into the genre. So I'm also a strong believer that if Fallout 3 didn't make that revolution of making the game a first-person shooter, open-world, exploring RPG, that I don't think the game would have succeeded as well as it did today. Maybe there would have been a lot more of Fallout, but since Interplay was kind of dying out, you kind of wonder how well they were doing despite how great the games were. So, I'm done defending myself. I'm just going to go ahead and now put the rest of my thoughts out there for you guys, and I'll accept whatever consequences they are. Once again, I just insist you respect my opinion. So, I feel like my issue with Fallout 1 and 2 is its gameplay. I play so many overhead strategy games, but I think it's the pacing of the older Fallout games that I really don't like. It takes a special strategy game to really hook you in and have you enjoy it. I like XCOM, for example, because of its permadeath factor. I like Wasteland because of the gritty difficulty and universe and how it's a bit more fast-paced in its storytelling and setting things up than the older Fallouts, where Fallout 1 and 2, while they tell great stories, they take a while to get going. Now, you may argue that, and by all means do so, but that's just my thoughts on this. It's just one of those things where I think to myself, these games are great, but I just look at them and I can't get into them. It's also worth mentioning that I do know the entire story and everything for Fallout 1 because of the Shoddy Cast lore video. So really the only Fallout game that I have not played that is a part of the canon is Fallout 2. I have considered making myself play it on stream and stuff, but if I have to force myself to play a game, does that mean I'm really going to enjoy it? No, you want to join up with a game and play it because you're interested in it, because you like it. And that's when I started to realize, okay, I'm just going to have to put my hands down and just accept that I don't really like the older Fallout games. It's not because they're bad games. It's not like there's anything really wrong with them. It's just not my type of game. But even that sounds weird to say because, like I said, I love Wasteland 2. I love Divinity Original Sin. I love XCOM. I love these overhead strategy games. It's just baffling why I don't like Fallout 1 and 2. I don't know what it really exactly is, but I think it's just a lot of little things that add up, such as its dated look, a bit of dated mechanics to a degree. Maybe I'm not into the really hard over the head RPGs. I think Wasteland 2 is a good difficulty setting. But that's just me. I know Fallout 1 and 2 are very hard. Maybe that kind of pushed me away a little bit. I don't know. I have tried playing them, but I end up putting them down right away. I'm also not huge into games that involve a shit ton of reading. Okay, I can deal with decent amount of reading. I always hate to go back to this example, but it's the most recent game I've been playing of this genre. But Wasteland 2 is a mix of voice acting, but also a good amount of reading. But it's not like I'm sitting there reading books, okay? I like kind of when a story is told to me. I do enjoy reading, such as in Skyrim, we'll take for example. I enjoy picking up those books and actually going through all these pages in the books and seeing, wow, the developers actually took the time to write a story in a story itself, if you get what I'm saying there. But I don't like reading these novels in games. Sometimes it's best to just kick back and have a story be told to you. That's also why I really like Fallout 3, because sometimes the gameplay is the story. I was, for example, during a stream exploring the Wasteland looking for super mutant behemoths, and I ran into a bunch of Enclave soldiers with a few controlled death claws, and the collision meshes messed up, and it sent these death claws just flying into the sky, and then they come out and they disappear, and they just keep reappearing and flying in the sky, and it was absolutely hilarious. But granted, that was a glitch, but that was a story that the gameplay told me, not the game itself, and that's something that Fallout 1 and 2 both never did to me. I've put, actually surprisingly, more time into, for example, a semi-canon Fallout game, which is Fallout Tactics. So I guess you can kind of see where I'm coming from. Hopefully that it seems my priorities are out of line, but like I said, I've tried forcing myself to play these games, and I just can't get into them. But I felt you guys, my viewers, did deserve the answer on why I don't play these older Fallout games. I felt that, I know this is a weird thing to take seriously, but you guys do look at me as a bit of like a Fallout information type guy. And while I do know my lore, I do know my Fallout stuff, Fallout 1 and 2 are games that are not games that have been played a lot in my catalog, and so I hope that you guys still do trust me as a Fallout source and everything, and don't judge me too harshly based off my Fallout opinions. But do know that I have played a ton of Fallout 3 in New Vegas, and I hope that's enough for you guys. But those are my final thoughts on the older Fallout games. They're classics, they're fantastic games, I see why people love them. But ladies and gentlemen, they're just not the games for Matthew, and it's just a bunch of little things accumulating into one dislike. So be sure to leave your thoughts on what you feel about the older Fallout games in the comments down below. I know I'm not alone on this. I know it really kind of splits the community up a little bit, but I want to get a decent discussion and a civil discussion going. If you've listened this far, then I'm assuming that you've had patience with me, and you can please leave your comment down below, because I'm assuming that you're going to have something good to say. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.